Well, hello again folks, and I hope you're still all keeping well out there. This is the second day I spent decoying wood pigeons out over the stubble fields back in August, though you'll see it just didn't quite go as well as the last day went, as the weather was being a real pain. But then again, this is Northern Ireland, so what do you expect, hey? Now, there is a nearby field of barley that hasn't been cut yet, but the easiest way for me to protect it would be to decoy the birds to this field here that is cut, as if I started tramping through the barley looking for shot birds, the farmer would probably end up shooting me for causing more damage than what the pigeons are in the first place. Now, the straw bales I was using for a hide the last time have all been lifted out of the field, so this time I decided to build the hide into the hedgerow. It's the same hide as before, called the Double Bush from bushwear.com that I bought years ago. And the reason why I'm using it is because they're giving it to be a really wet day, as you'll see in the footage. The camouflage net that I'm busily adding a lot of thistles and grass to help blend it into the hedgerow is one of the Ghost Stealth 2-ply nets in woodland green. Again, my rifle for the day is my John Bowkett blueprinted BSA Super 10 in .22 caliber running at about 15 foot-pounds of energy, with JSB 15.9 grain Diabolo pellets. The scope is a Nikko Stirling 4-16x44 Targetmaster with LRX radical and sports match mounts. I also have a Virax silencer up front, and I'm also using the Tactacam 5.0 and FTS unit. Oh yes, and I decided to try out a set of Vanguard shooting sticks with the swivel yoke on top, as I thought that might be very handy for those extreme left and right shots. Well, with that thankfully all said and done, let's get to setting those decoys out. Now, I've said it before, honestly, I am no decoying expert. I keep things pretty basic and simple, and just use 10 full-bodied flocked decoys, which I touched the paintwork up on some time ago. Now, wood pigeons generally like to land into the wind, but you'll see this morning there is next to no wind. So I set the decoys out in a wide arc in front of the hide, with the furthest bird about 30 yards away. This leaves a large open area directly in front of the hide about 20-25 yards away. This is your kill zone. In theory, this is where the incoming birds should land. But you'll see as the morning went on that the birds were landing all over the place, some of them even well out of range. But you'll soon see that it didn't take too long for the birds to notice the decoys, even though I hadn't quite got into the hide yet. They're working. Okay, now we're in the hide, we're locked and loaded, so let the action begin. No folks, that's not blood, that's water on his chest. He must be a messy drinker. Again, I'm going for a high shoulder or base and neck shot, which, when done right, really seems to put these birds down hard. Another benefit of taking this kill zone is that the birds seem to go down super clean, no flapping or rolling about like the headshots I used to take. This bird's landed to my extreme right hand side, so I'm going to have to swap to my left hand shoulder, which makes the shooting a wee bit awkward with a right hand dedicated stock. I'd say the first shot was fatal, but just to make sure. Unfortunately, sometimes when shooting to your extreme left or right, the hide netting can get in front of the lens. Now, I didn't notice it when looking through the scope with my human eye, but the camera obviously can pick it up. That bird didn't like what it saw for some reason. And this bird seems to be very unsettled. I had a nice wee flurry of birds so far, but they do seem to be very unsettled now. Then I heard a little wren giving a warning call in the background. And when I looked down, I saw a little kitty. But it didn't want to stay to talk. Now, usually when you see the birds starting to flare off at your decoys like that, there's something wrong. Now, I don't think it was really the cat, as it was really only passing through. It's usually a dead bird is lying on its back and spooking incoming birds from landing. So I decided it's about time I went out and had a wee bit of a tidy up. But when I was out there, I was a wee bit lost for an idea of what actually was wrong with the decoy pattern. So I decided to set up the dead birds I had shot as decoys and move a few decoys about to see if it would remedy the situation. Thankfully, it wasn't too long until the birds started to show an interest again, but they were landing well out of range. So instead of taking a Hail Mary shot, hoping that I might hit one, I decided to let them be and let them act as live decoys. And sure enough, it wasn't too long till something landed inside a wee bit more sensible range. Looks like it's another very fidgety bird. And another lost opportunity. Looks like some of the birds are starting to drop into my extreme left this time. Och, for goodness sake, sit at peace, would ye? Looks like this one's playing peekaboo over the stubble. I see you. Did I get him? Yep, I got him. Now, what do we have here, hey? No, they're not wood pigeons. They might be feral pigeons, or they could be racing birds and somebody's pride and joy. So I'll leave them well alone, just in case. But about 30 yards away, I've noticed a couple of wood pigeons that I have no problems with shooting. It looks a little too lively for my liking, so just to make sure. Again, I decided to venture out and have a wee bit of a tidy up, set any shot birds up as decoys. And it was at this point I suddenly realised what might be putting the birds off. Of course my plastic decoys are a wee bit darker in colour with the rain, but the dead birds I had shot and set up as decoys, the rain was actually running down and beading into puddles on their back, and that might be what was putting the birds off from landing. So I went round each of them and wiped the water off their backs with my hand, hoping that that might remedy the situation. Ah, nuts, I missed, and things were going well there too. Don't know what happened there. The crosshairs looked well centred too when I squeezed off. Not good. Looks like I hit slightly to the left. But thankfully I got the opportunity for a follow-up shot and finished the job. Ah, looks like the birds are starting to go off the decoys again. There could be a couple of shot birds lying on their backs, or maybe the rain started to puddle on the decoys again. Oops, sounds like I shot another one of my plastic decoys. Ah dear, missed again. This bird I estimated at about 35 yards, but I didn't allow anything for the wind. But by the looks of the footage, I should have, as the pellet just grazed a few feathers out of its left hand side. Well, that bird didn't like what it saw, and it looks like the rest of the birds are preferring to land way out into the field again. I don't really see any point in lobbing a pellet 60-70 yards out into the field in the hope you might hit one, so I'll leave them alone for now, and sooner or later they'll spook and fly off, and once in the air there's a good chance they'll see your decoys and drop in for a much easier shot. Now the birds have gone off the decoys again. But I didn't want to give up just yet, so I went out and lifted all the plastic decoys and rejigged the pattern a bit, just using the shot birds as decoys, hoping that I might get the pigeons to start to decoy again. Now, at that point, I thought it was actually going to work. But I sat on for a while longer, and that was the last bird that decoyed. So I finally decided to pull the plug, tidy everything up, and head back home. Man, I'm going to need a bigger set of hands. Well, it certainly wasn't as nice a day as the last time I was here, but I'm definitely glad I made the effort to get up and out. Plus, I've got a good bit more ingredients for the wife's mixed game pies. And with that, folks, look after yourselves and take care, hey.